All right, well, once again, it's our delight to bring you an update of another overseas trip, this time to Bolivia. And so let's start at the beginning, Dave, with the invitation by a Bolivian national, which I always love the fact that almost every time we travel overseas, it's by the invitation of folks from that country. And this was Henry Nogales. So tell us about that.
So yeah, it's probably a year or so ago that Henry called the office, and he is the president of the National Evangelical Association. And on the phone with Henry was a representative of New Tribes Mission.
Yeah.
So both of them called me, but Henry did most of the talking and was so excited to invite you to come and be a part of a conference that they were putting on in Cochabamba. Really the first of its kind conference, which was training for indigenous people groups in Bolivia, a 3-day conference with seminars and breakout groups and music, and you were part of that really 3-day conference in Cochabamba.
And what's beautiful is, as in many places in South America, the work was started by missionaries years ago, and this particular mission agency has been there maybe 60, 70 years, I don't know. But as God would have it, they begin to pull out and transfer all of the responsibility and leadership now to the National Bolivians. So it was beautiful to see this conference run by nationals. And there were a smattering of folks from here in the States, but they were really background and not very visible. They were in a serving role. So that's really beautiful to see. And the conference was for those who have sensed a call to missions in their own country.
Exactly.
So Bolivia is a very diverse place. I mean, talk about just not topography, but even lots of different tribes and languages.
Right. I think we found out at the conference that there's over 30 indigenous people groups. 18 of those groups were present.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And you recall one of the nights when they invited you to come up and Dick to come up and play the keyboard and do a song that they all knew, and then the mic was passed around to each representative from one of those tribes, and they sang a chorus or a verse in their particular language.
We heard 18 languages in one song.
That was something.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful picture because he mentioned, okay, if heaven is a place where there's a people from every nation, tribe, tongue. Now I don't think it's going to be this cacophony of confusion, but it was beautiful to hear all those languages and to see Bolivians sensing a call to go back to their own tribes. So it was really a beautiful sight.
It really was. And Henry wanted to make it a very special event, and I appreciate that, but he called and had a big vision. Let's do an orchestra.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's do a big choir. Let's have a 100-voice choir and a 26-piece orchestra. Can you send the charts and we'll practice? And, I mean,
they did it.
They did it. Amazing. Which was beautiful for them. I mean, to see all the gifts being used, and what a blessing for all the people who attended to have such a great representation of musicians there for the concert.
For this, I mean, this was a first-time missions conference targeting the indigenous people of Bolivia, and it's such an important calling, and we got to be a part of it and to encourage them. A couple things. I mean, the first event was actually speaking.
Right.
So I spoke to the group. I guess that was Friday morning or so, and then the following day was the concert with the orchestra, and it wasn't easy to get there.
Right.
I mean, this was a bit out of the city, and it was a trek for people to make the journey.
It really was. It was a special really time what you shared, and then you went back another night and sang and shared again, and then did a concert. So really you were interspersed throughout the conference, which was so special.
And we attended other meetings. We just went to hear one night. And of course, if you're there, they're going to ask you to do something. So on the spur of the moment, there we are. Back again. And you know what I thought was so neat, one of the things is they didn't have a piano.
Right.
I mean, how do you find a and they had seen,
Right.
you know, Dick Tunney playing the grand piano in other photos, and so they made out of just plywood something that resembled a grand piano with furniture legs,
Right.
and then stuck a keyboard into it. And from a distance, it looked fantastic.
It did.
So,
It did.
you know, hats off to these brothers who do a lot with very little,
Absolutely.
and are a real testimony to us also of, you know, using resources wisely in the kingdom and knowing that there's a great work to do. Now, the Sunday morning then, you know, they asked us to sort of fan out
Right.
into the city, and so you had said, well, I didn't quite come prepared, and I said, oh, yes, you are. So,
You know, our father always said, keep a sermon in your back pocket.
keep a sermon in your back
because
pocket.
you never know.
That's right. So
It was
you
special.
so you went to a really unique church.
I did.
And spoke there. Tell us about the.
Well, the pastor of the church gave one of the video presentations.
I remember that.
It
It
was
was
very,
beautiful.
very moving. In fact, what he was talking about in the conference was that his missionaries from his church were actually stranded in this particular village because of rains. And there was so much rain. They're in water constantly.
And they might not be completely clear till May,
No.
possibly. So
No.
it's been a
Oh.
tremendous rainy season that has,
Yeah.
as you said, stranded.
Yeah, and he said they can't get out 4 days by boat, maybe to get out, but the waters are too high and too rough, and the people couldn't even make it to the conference, which he was so heartbroken about. But yeah, I went to spoke at his church that Sunday morning, and it was so sweet to be with their church body, and they're a sending church, so they're licensed and have a license to send missionaries into tribal group areas, and they have several missionaries that they've sent out to minister. One of the highlights for me was at the end of the sermon, a lady came up to me and said, I know you. I'm Mrs. Vargas. I go, and I know you. And she was from Argentina,
Yeah.
had been to our parents' church, knew us
Okay,
when we
now
were
this
kids.
is a long, long time ago. A blast from the past.
Yes,
but,
it
But we
was.
still remember.
Yeah, and she's a member at that church.
Wow.
It's just amazing how God connects everything and makes it so small, and a special time, really.
And then I was invited to another church, another indigenous church, and able to give a morning message for them and be part of the service. Actually, we did the whole thing. I took Dick and Bruce with me, and so we did music, and it was really, really a blessing for us, and hopefully for them. And so that what a great thing to travel overseas and use all the gifts that God has given to us. And then the next
night we were off to Santa Cruz, and one of our dear missionary friends actually had to drive 13 hours
oh my goodness,
with a car full of
yep.
people. We got to fly, which that was a real privilege
It
for
was,
us.
it was.
The roads are very windy and treacherous, but so off to Santa Cruz and had a concert there the next on Monday.
Yep. And again, that was the same kind of emphasis. It was part of the same event to encourage missions into Bolivia, to the indigenous people of Bolivia.
Yeah.
And so we had, it wasn't overflowing, but we had a good group of folks, and they were warm and receptive. And, once again, thank you to all of you who have helped us and helped send us. We get to go places and pass on that encouragement to places that really need it. And we could see it in their eyes, and it was a tremendous blessing to be there. So thank you so much for your part in sending us.